Right, well, good evening, everyone. Hope you're well. Welcome to tonight's Golang in London. Thanks for coming. Joined by Robert Pajak today for a great talk on goyek around basically taskflow and everything around that, why it's created, what it's used for, and he's going to run through a bit about it. As usual, this event's being recorded, so if anyone comes in a bit late, don't worry, and everything misses anything, don't worry. Any questions, feel free to shout them out or stick them in the chat, which I'll be keeping an eye on. But for now, I'll hand over to Robert. Robert, you're still muted.
Yeah, I see. Thanks. So you see the screen, correct?
Yeah. All
okay.
Good.
So hello. I'm Robert Pajak. I'm coming from Krakow, from Poland. So first, a little start about agenda. So we have also a couple minutes for others to join. So here's the agenda. First, I will talk a few minutes about myself. Then a quick explanation what about the problem and why goyek was created. A demonstration, some remarks, Q&A, and basically the Q&A could be continuous, like in a continuous manner. So if you have any questions, something is not clear, or I do not explain something very well, feel free to interrupt. Basically, I know we have 1 hour, but I will try to make the presentation like in 20 minutes, because I feel that sometimes it's better to just talk about the most important thing, not just to, make you fall asleep. So, a few words about yourself. This is a photo of my family from a few months ago, and basically my background, because background is also kind of important to understand the problem, is a lot of .NET. So it's Windows, which is not very Go-friendly environment, in my opinion. And since like 2.5 years, I think, I started to be a more happy Go programmer. And what's more, I try to follow extreme programming values, principles, and practices. So I try to do a lot of automation, and I do a lot, so it also probably helped me a lot building this project. Currently, I'm working at Splunk and in a team which develops instrumentations for Open Telemetry. So I'm mainly developing instrumentations for Go and .NET. Okay, few words about the problem. So basically, in enterprise software development, you usually need something more than just running, Go test or Go build, Go FMT from the command line. Often you want to have some common build pipeline, even for sake of continuous integration, right? So, what are the possibilities, or what I've been using? First, and the obvious option are the shell scripts like Bash, PowerShell, or even Windows Batch. So, for example, this is something which you can see even in the Go code base. So they're using Bash and Windows Batch to build stuff. However, in my opinion, you need to often create different batches for different environments. Also, it's another language that you need to learn. So I don't think it's a great tool, at least in my opinion. Another possibility is to use make files, and I think that's currently our de facto standard in the Go ecosystem. However, from my experience, especially for guys like me coming from .NET, who do not have often a lot of C++ experience or C experience, it's the learning curve, learning make is kind of high. Also, it's kind of hard to make files and even bash scripts using, for example, Cygwin or Git bash under the hood, which are truly cross-platform compatible. Debugging is not quite easy, and if you get more and more logic, these makefiles are being very hacky. And from my experience, at some point it occurs that you have 1 or 2 people who only understand what's going on in these makefiles. The other option, so I tried to look more, and then I discovered Mage. So Mage is a very fun tool, which enables you to write like the targets in Go. And I started to use it. However, I had some concerns using it. So basically, when I had some issue, I had problems to debug it. Also, because it uses a lot of magic, like build tags or stuff like that. I had trouble using with VS Code. So basically, like these little problems made me stop using Mage. Some people were telling me also about Task. So Task is also like a build tool created in Go, which is very similar to Makefile, that you create like targets in YAML, and but still it has like similar problems to Makefile. So you need to learn another language. Also debug. There are the same problems with debugging. It's also problematic to create reusable tasks between multiple projects, etc. So, and the last thing which I was looking at was Bazel. But Bazel is a very sophisticated tool, and I think it's great for creating efficiently complex long-running builds and pipelines, but it requires like strict definition of strict input and output, and it's also something that needs learning. And I basically wanted something easy to learn, something that will have a lower learning curve for goofers, but still enables building complex stuff if needed. So with having these problems, it took me like a year until I came up with idea how to build another build tool like for Go, which initially was called taskflow, but it has been renamed to goyek recently. So I was started to thinking, what are the critical features that are needed to build a tool for building pipelines. So the first like critical feature is to do something like target registration. So that and with some logic. So I was thinking maybe I should look just at the Go standard library packages for some inspiration. And basically, I think that we could have API that looks similar to registering HTTP handlers. So the other thing which is important for build pipelines is having an opportunity to fail something, to log something, or to skip something. So what about the Go standard library? We have testing package. So the API could look like that to be familiar. And the last one, we need some parameters. So for parameters, we have the flag package. So this was the inspiration. And right now, I will just show how it look like. So it will be live demonstration. I hope everything will go very well. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt. Something is wrong. Am I sharing the new screen or not really?
Yeah, we can still see your screen. Got a GitHub up behind. Yeah.
Cool. So you see Visual Studio Code. So I will demonstrate something extremely simple because I think that showing something on simple stuff is better than on complex stuff. So here I just have a one dummy package which has simple test. So if I run go test, it will fail. So basically the idea of using goyek is to create an application side by side to your project, and you will use goyek as a library. So without further ado, I just create a folder called build and create a file called build.go. So just create a package main, function main, and then what can we do? We'll need to import something, right? So let's import GitHub So the main entry point for goyek is something called a taskflow. So basically, like it's a set of registered tasks. So I usually call it just flow, just to be quicker, and we can just it has to be a reference, and we'll just need to call main. Something is wrong. We just probably need to cd build go mode tidy. And right now we just run it and we'll see what will happen. Run build. So basically we just created an entry point and we see that we have like run goyek and we have nothing registered. So when nothing, and we have a help, if something will be registered, we have information about verbose mode. So I'll just start and register a task which will just simply print hello world. So we have a register function which takes a task. You can give it a name. We give it a name hello. We can describe what it is doing. So I am printing a message, and then we can pass the command. And basically, the command has like very similar API to a unit test. So we can simply tf log and say hello world in Polish. So now, if I go run build, we will get an information here that we have a task hello that we can use. So I'll just run hello, and there's nothing. Why there's nothing? Because everything passed. And if everything passed, it works also like testing package. It doesn't print anything. It just prints the tasks which are failing. If you want to see everything, we need to run in verbose mode. So now we have an output which looks like basically like for Go test. Okay, I'll maybe show something how it will look like if we'll have something failing. So if we register another task, we'll name it fail usage. I am failing command. And now we have the same API as for tests, so we can, or maybe simple error. I am always failing. Never working like in reality. All right. And now, if I run it, I get information that it failed, and similar output will be in without verbose mode because we have a task which has failed. If we run both of them like that, we just have information about the task which has failed. All right. There's also a possibility to use skip, so the test will be skip, and then also the output will be skipped like for the testing package. So maybe let's stop printing something to output. Let's do something that is really working. So I will register a task which will run Go test. So make a test package. It will run Go test. And now we have a helper for executing like little programs, because very often when you're dealing with build pipelines, it's just about executing some one-liner script. So there's a helper for it. So I just want to run Go test. So we can see that it's failing. If you want, we can put verbose here, and we'll see that Do we see the output? Yeah, because this is here failing. That's correct. And it was here as well. Okay, let me get rid of this one. All right. So let's make something more sophisticated. Let's make a task which maybe before I go further, I will fix the test. So this will be not longer failing. So now if I run, it will work. Correct. So now with the use case, we'll install application and run it. So we'll add a target for linting, and it will use Golang Golang CI lint command. Now for executing multiple files, we have also a little helper called cmd, and basically it will prepare an exec command from Go standard library, which will be like initialized to properly output and stream stuff for the task flow. So first, what I want to do is to run, because I'm using Go 16, I can just use Go install, and I will just check the internet, because I never remember the path. Go like clint. It will be here. Installation. So we have a command. I do need to see myself. So we can just run it. We can check if there's no error. If there is error, then we can simply print the error. Install Golang CI lint. And then after doing it, we can just run the Golang CI lint run. We'll just do it like that. Okay, let's check what will happen. Right now, probably everything will work. So right now it's installing. Maybe I'll run it in verbose mode. So at least we'll see something. Yes, so we see that in verbose mode, we see that it has been installed and that it had run Golang CI lint. And it failed. And now I'm not sure what happened. Let me check something quickly. If someone sees an obvious, I see what's the problem. Here's the problem. All right, so it's working. Let's check if the linter is really working. Let's do something dummy stuff that probably will, where it will, I hope that some linter will complain, but I was not checking it. Let's create some file, dummy txt. Hope it will complain. I guess not. Yeah, it failed. So the linter worked. It told me that error check. The linter told me that I have not checked the error. So let me just remove it. So here we have just one simple a sample tasks like which are standalone. So one thing which I usually do is that out of tasks that are having some logic, I create like a task which is like a pipeline. So I just register a task. Let's call it all or pipeline or whatever. All is short. Pipeline. And I do not have to have, I do not need any command. I just need dependencies. So each registration returns like something like an object for a registered task. So I will just create a pipeline for hello, for test, and for lint. And I will register all of them here. Hello, test, lint. And I can even set this task as default. So if non-tasks will be provided, default task will be run. Okay, so the last thing which was mentioned and was not yet demonstrated were the parameters. So we can also introduce a parameter. Let's register a string parameter, which will be named MSG for message with default value hello world. And now we can use this message param inside some task. The only thing that we need to do is we need to register it also to a task so that we will have also an information help that this task is using a message. And we can use it, for example, here. Message get tf. So right now we have information, we have hello world here instead, which is from the parameter. I can always set the message to something else like hi, and we have hi instead. So we are slowly going to the end. So maybe one thing which I did not mention, one of the reasons I have also created taskflow is that it does not need to be explicitly installed. You just use it as library. So you only need to add it to your Go mode file, and there's nothing more. So if you just run go run, you are sure that it will always use the same version on every environment. So you don't need to worry that, for example, you have forgotten to update your tool. Does someone has any question? Because I heard someone. Okay, so let me go further. So another good thing regarding taskflow is that because it's an application, we can easily debug it. So I have a preset configuration here for launching that I will be launching like a program from Go with arguments all. So if I just click F5, I can just debug what's going on if I have any detailed problems. And I could also debug the internals if in case of some bug. All right. And also because it's so easy to run, it's easy just to create an alias for bash or some task for Visual Studio. So I usually just have under Control-Shift-B my task, and I'm just simply using it like that, like you see. And it's also easy to integrate with continuous integration. So very often, so basically your build pipeline, for example, in GitHub Actions could just look like that. Just run go run build, install go, checkout, and install this. And let's give it also a message. Hello from GitHub, or from Golang for London. Let's just revert this stuff. We'll check if it will work. So now we can go to the GitHub Actions. And in the meantime, do you have any questions? Because it will probably run for 1 minute or so.
Feel free to shout them out or stick them in the chat if anyone's got any questions.
Okay, we see that it's already building. Just we cannot see the details yet. To be honest, there's a possibility that not everyone sees the logs, so maybe I'll just close guest. Here. Oh, it already passed. So we can see here in the logs that the linter was installed. It was quite verbose. Everything passed. And let me go back right now to this. So that's the end of the demonstration. I go back to the slides. So remarks. So basically, from my experience, libraries tend to be more flexible and easier to use than frameworks or some tools that automatically works. And goyek tries to be usable, a usable library with the lowest possible learning curve. And I hope that every Go developer basically can learn it in less than an hour. And I feel that because it takes advantage of Go, you can use other libraries, so it should scale, like the unit testing framework for Go. And at last, debugging is easy because it's just a Go program. And you can even write unit tests to your build pipeline very easily. And like my last request, I would like to get feedback from you, both regarding goyek and the presentation, if it was good or not. And if you think it's worth maintaining, something should be changed, you want to try it out and you need some help, or you think it's bad, please don't hesitate to discuss it with me or the team. If you go to the repository, there's information about how to contact us. Other remarks? I would like to thank a lot Christian Haas. I think that he's even here, who contributes a lot, and basically he's like, in my opinion, the co-author right now of goyek. And also, I would just want to mention that I'm also maintaining an organization called Golang templates, where you can find 2 repository templates. And like funny fact is that it's not using goyek. The main template is using makefile, because I consider goyek like not widely used. So maybe if it will be adopted in more places, then I will switch to goyek. And that's all. Do you have any questions?
Meanwhile, I would already have a remark. So hello. The remark would be that goyek itself is self-built as well. So, or the CI of goyek uses itself. This you can, for instance, also show in the repository, that the build pipeline of goyek uses itself.
That's correct. So you're dogfooding. Okay, thank you. Oh, there's some questions in the chat, I think.
Yeah, a couple in the chat. So first one is from Una. It says, can I get help? I can't run my CSV file because it's not giving me an output. Any suggestions?
What I do not really understand the question. I can't run my CSV file.
You know, if you're still in, do you want to, if you're unmute yourself, you can ask the question. You might be able to explain it a bit easier. Well, we'll leave that one for a moment then. Steve said, any plans for GitHub actions written in Go using goyek?
That could be a plan, but yeah, like I know that GitHub actions can be used using, I think, Docker. So probably it could be possible to write some little applications or some little like tools using, right? Like Steve, this is your idea?
Yeah, there's a
pipeline.
A lot of GitHub actions are written in JavaScript and Node.js because that's available. But since you can write them in any language using a Docker container, I've seen some libraries that make, like Seth Fargo has a library, and there's been a number of other sort of actually Go native GitHub actions, and I was considering goyek as a possibility for helping to build actually a Go native versions of some of these GitHub actions. I didn't know if that was something that you were pursuing in your other repositories, or if that was...
Not really. I would say maybe because the main advantage for me of using such files, such as like makefile or goyek, is that you can use like GitHub actions only for the stuff which is tightly coupled to GitHub itself or GitHub actions. So for instance, maybe I can just even go back to share. I will just share my screen back. I'll just give an example, even for goyek itself. So if you look at the GitHub actions, so the build pipeline, as you can see, it uses cache, but I think basically it makes even slower the build. It just uses, you see, go run, like normally, because it will simply work. And then for GitHub actions, I'm using stuff like, for example, uploading code coverage to CodeCov or stuff like that. So this is my like philosophy of using GitHub actions. Even for making releases, it's not here, but I will maybe show it in another project. So I mentioned this Golang template, see it? So if you see it here, the workflow, it uses make, but so basically I'm just using make release, and everything how to do the release is inside. But because it requires you to use an environment variable, you do not have to worry that you will run it by mistake. Have I answered your question somehow, Steve? Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense, and it's completely legitimate. It's that what because sometimes for things that are too complicated for make files, if we end up writing those as, like I've used make files, writing those actually in Go, and I can still execute those via a make file or some other sort of thing in GitHub, in a GitHub action. But it'd be nice, like if I was using Go releaser, or if I was using a more complicated set of things, to just be able to actually have the same, a similar, like a different entry point, the GitHub action, execute just pure Go code as when I'm doing that locally and I'm executing using, say, goyek. But that way I could use the sort of more library approach of goyek in two different places without having to, so I could not have to have that, my local workflow be different from my GitHub CI workflow, is what I was thinking. But it's completely fair to just reuse, just have it be using the standard GitHub actions out of Node.js. So, but it's cool.
Thank you. Thanks for your question.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Doesn't look like it. So yeah, well, thanks very much for a great talk, Robert. As I said earlier, this has been recorded, so keep an eye out for the recording coming up, probably sometime Friday morning. I'll share that via the meetup group and LinkedIn as well. You'll find Robert on LinkedIn or on the Go for Slack channel for people who are on that. If you have any further questions. Similarly, keep an eye out on the Golang meetup group. I've got another event coming up. I think it's the 19th. So I'll make that live sometime tomorrow. So yeah, lots of events coming up over the next few weeks and months, especially over Zoom. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Please feel free to reach out for me on LinkedIn as well if anyone wants to talk about the Go market from a job side or anything like that. But for now, thanks a lot, Robert. Great talk, and yeah, hope everyone has a good evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.